Yes. And last Sunday, we had a very interesting debate and discussion on in between the lines of what Rabbi Shimon Russell is saying. And some people actually came and asked me the question, what's the difference between what Rabbi Shimon calls Crisis Chinuch and the Kiruv movement, which actually does more or less the same thing, or just the opposite, actually, while the Kiruv movement is trying to reconnect the person to Yiddishkeit, and the crisis chinuch is actually to just create healthy persons and healthy relationships and reattach with the parents and etc. So it's about more reconnecting. So basically, what's the difference between those two? And I thought it would be useful to maybe share with you, if you want, a slide that I've prepared. To share. So this is the slide that I've prepared, where you have indeed on the left side, what you have is a typical, nearly every family must have a child that is what we can call disengaged. Disengaged with Judaism in very particular formats. For example, is not interested in learning, doesn't go to the Kodesh anymore, doesn't go to Daven, hardly puts on tefillin, is all day long on his phone, listening to music or social media, maybe even watches inappropriate content and things like that. He's simply completely disengaged. He sleeps in the day and is running around the yeshiva in the night, whatever it is. But this is more what I call disengaged children. While the case that Rabbi Shimon Russell suggests crisis chinuch is more for boys that are actually completely disconnected. And I say completely in the sense that they can be disconnected either with their parents, with the community, with the Torah, with Hashem, but in general, there's a complete disconnection. The difference in the behavior that you can see is that on a disengaged, the boy or the girl is more lacking of compliance. Is doing things which is actually not doing things. So maybe he's been smoking, but the smoking is also not kind of a defying behavior, while the disconnected child has a defying behavior, which is much more powerful, can put on tattoos, does something which the parents go completely crazy. Of course, on the left side, parents also go crazy, but it's less of a defined behavior. So don't put on, those boys or girls don't put on nose rings, tattoos all over their body or big parts of the body, and does not go to end up in smoking drugs. So this is a very strong difference between those two. And it's true that those two have therefore also different, maybe eventually, I'm not an expert, but could have different ways on how to support them. So the left, the disengaged, they have what we can call a Kiruv method, where you try to re-engage them with the Torah, re-engage them with Tznius, re-engage them with the Hashem, with Judaism in general. While the disconnected child or teenager, we have to start doing a completely new type of chinuch, which is called the crisis chinuch, which is simply trying to reconnect with a child, between the parents and the child, and not focusing at all anymore on what has anything to do with Judaism. And so while the left needs help, clearly needs help, but the help is more in the sense of a coach. So how can I make my life interesting again? I'm not interested in everything that the yeshiva, for example, is offering me. I want something else. So it's more a coach that can help this type of a person. It's more within the area of the coaching, while when a person is completely disconnected and ends up in quite dangerous behavior, then we have to speak about the healing process, and it is more a therapist that needs to help in taking away the traumatic event. Now, it's clear that every parent actually has a fear that whenever they have a disengaged child, that the disengaged child will become eventually disconnected.
And there's a chance, of course, and we all are aware of it. And everybody has in his family at least one child that is disengaged. And then, of course, the big fear is that this child will become disconnected. But this becoming disconnected, it's probably, according to Rabbi Shimon, would only happen if there is a very serious traumatic events or a lot of little myriad of small events that actually triggering an effect of trauma, as he explains in his videos. In other words, it's possibly that the reaction of the parents and of the Rabbeim on a disengaged child, no, come already to shul, go already to shul, etc., this can create a traumatic event in the child. So far in the beginning, it's okay still. The child feels guilty and feels bad, etc. But if this type of bullying is continuing, and then a certain type of a bully which is in continuous, that can be translated into a traumatic event in the brains of the child, and chas v'sholem, from that moment on, the child goes on the next level, which is the disconnected. And then, of course, the child is will start to behave in a defying way. And that's when you know that you have, that the child has moved on to the next level. Of course, what it means is that it's very important, and when a child is being disengaged, to really help and coach the child instead of pushing him and forcing him into a certain direction, but really to, again, not only reconnect, but it's more important to attach, the attachment, the healthy attachment between the child and his parents, between the child and his Rabbeim and his yeshiva and the community and his friends and his siblings. Is really, this is the way to try to give him a bit more of a sense to his life, and therefore giving him a direction and proud to be a Jew, to be a person, to be his individuality. This could be that this person that is disengaged is indeed suffering from the educational system that focuses, as Rabbi Shimon explains, more on the rebuilding of the community rather than the development of the individuality that is in the child, as also before Rabbi Shimon Russell, Rav Kook already complained about the Haredi system in general that did not allow this individuality to come out, like somebody who is an artist, somebody that has more an interest in Kabbalah, in Machshava, somebody that is more interested in singing, in whatever it is, in carpenting, in fixing things, and to develop this type of talents and the tchunos that this child has towards these things, to really focus on that, so that his little spark of neshama that is within him can shine to the world. And that is really the left side. Once we are on the right side, then we are in the area of the disconnected child. And then it's already too late. And this child has a clear traumatic event that is triggering his disconnection in a continuous manner. And then you really have to switch over to what he calls a crisis chinuch. And this was already explained in his own videos, but I also put my video on my last year of Sunday about reading between the lines of Rabbi Shimon Russell. So I'm really curious to hear what you think of this slide and what your comments can be. Thank you very much. I wish you all best of luck, and may we be zeicher to the Gule Shlemo Bimhero B'Yomeinu Amen.